Whenever we design anything, we have to first come up with the models. For example, I'll just tell you a correlation. See, before any civil engineer, he constructs a house, he's going to show you some model, isn't it? That is called as a blueprint. Sometimes that blueprint will be, uh, what they do is they will write the blueprint in the chart, isn't it? See, before they do anything, they'll design some charts. If you have that subject of, I don't know that subject name, we are supposed to have one engineering drawing subject, I think, right? So in that subject you might have constructed some charts like top view, side view, and like that, right? So when you are going to have that, so you are going to first, the engineers, they are going to design some chart, okay, but then when they show you this, the model, they are not going to present you with the chart, because you might not understand the technical details. Like they'll be having some meters, they'll say that it is the top view, this is the front view, like that. You'll not be able to understand it. That is why what they do is they'll actually build a small diagram of the house, I mean small model of the house, isn't it? So with brick and stone, they'll just design and mimic a small model of the house, right? So like this, they will show you actually how the house will look like they'll put everything and they'll show you that, right? Even though they are doing it on the chart, and then finally the main project will be done, right? Finally the house will be constructed. Therefore there are actually 3 levels of modeling done, and this first level of modeling, which naive users like you and me, if you don't have any knowledge about civil engineering, if you have to understand it, you will never understand the charts, right? But if they show you the real model of the small model of the house, then you will understand it, isn't it? Then this is called as high level view, or let's say conceptual view, right? And then they are going to use some charts, right? That is called as representational view, right? Or representational model. And the final is implementation, right? Similarly, here in software also, while we design the software, we have various models, and like software, this database also, while it is being designed, it goes through various levels of modeling. And the first level of model is high level modeling or conceptual modeling. So this is mainly used, in order to explain to the people who really don't know anything about how database is implemented. For example, let us say you are the database designer, okay, which means you want to provide the database system as an engineer to some, let us say some school, and now the head of the school has called you to design the project, and you'll be talking with the head of the school, but then you should not talk about the SQL with him, isn't it? He'll never understand what SQL is and what is a record and what is a relation, right? So what is the best thing is you use some diagrams and then show him what you are trying to put in the database, right? So that kind of viewing is called as high level or conceptual view. It will be mainly helpful when you are talking to people who don't understand anything about what you are doing, right? So it is similar to this house building model, right? So here the most what we do is we use some diagrams, like we use some diagrams for entities. For example, we model a student by an entity, and the student might be having some attributes like his age, his name, right? All those. And maybe there will be relationships, right? Like a student and course, right? A student attends the course. Attends is a relationship between student entity and course entity. Like that, if you draw the diagrams and if you try to explain it clearly, then that is called as conceptual view, right? And the conceptual view, the most popular conceptual modeling is ER modeling, entity relationship modeling. There are various modelings available, but then the most popular is entity relationship model, and we have that in syllabus. We are going to discuss about entity relationships. Later there are even enhanced entity relationships, and then various other like UML and all, but we are going to follow entity relationship model, right? So what is the main advantage? It will be very clear for a new person to understand it. So before you design it, it's better that you draw some diagrams and then show to the people who are interested in it, so that they'll understand it. The communication will be easy, that's it, right? And later, representational or implementation model is just like these charts, right? While building a house, the charts which you are going to use, that is nothing but the representational. So these models are used by the programmers, right? if you understand how the query runs, SQL query runs, or any query programming language runs, then you are going to use this representation to represent the database, right? So this level of modeling, generally we use relations. Relations means the tables. We use generally the tables at this level, right? So it is also called as relational model. Okay, and later we are going to take the table and we are going to implement it, right? And when we are going to implement it, we have to talk about how are we going to take the table and store it in the hard disk or the memory device, right? Then at that point we have to deal about what is the structure of the record, how are you going to store it, right? Especially what is the data type and what is the structure and how are you going to place it, and when you want to retrieve it, how many bytes should you go in, right? For example, if a table is represented like this, see, if an entity is represented like this in high level language, then a table will be shown like this as a set of some rows and some columns. But then you are not going to save like the entire table image in the memory, right? You are going to store it as a sequence of bytes, which means maybe if you go record wise, you will place the first record and then the second record and then the third record, isn't it? Then in order to access the third record in the table, you might have to skip these many bytes, right? It is called as accessing. So how do you access a record? Everything that will be discussed by using this physical or low level models, right? So now we shall discuss about this high level modeling first, which means how do we use the ER models, and then we shall discuss this this intermediate modeling, and then we shall discuss about the low level modeling, right? If we can do that, with that the database design will be over. Okay.